new friends and brave explorers. Welcome to Crafted Courage. You might be wondering why you're here or what that even is. So I'm glad you found this video. Crafted Courage is my very big experiment of creativity. So I am taking an hour out of my day and dedicating that to some sort of creative pursuit. I've got a laundry list that's miles long of creative and artistic things that I've always wanted to just try. And so some of those are quilling, like you'll see in this video, or perler beads, or stamp making, or prints, or any number of things that are just interesting crafts that maybe you never find the time to get to. And so for this experiment, I wanted to do just that. I wanted to do something that I had never done before, filming this from the perspective of a beginner. I think that we often find ways to block ourselves from our goals, like whether that's through perfectionism or comparison or any number of walls that we build between ourselves and our goals. I think it's important that we break through those and we can see the growth on the other side. So what's my why? Why Crafted Courage? Well, we're all beginners here. And I think it's really important to lead by example and show that through my own experience, my own journey, that I'm a beginner too. And that there's so much growth that can be achieved when you put your toe on the line of your comfort zone and maybe even take a step outside of it. And I think it's really important to myself, my own journey, and hopefully to yours, that creativity is one way that we can do that. When you create a safe space for yourself to get messy, make mistakes, thanks Miss Frizzle, you can carry that with you, that growth, that ability to take risks. And I think it's really important that creativity is a vehicle to allow us to experience growth. It's a way to let go of perfectionism and embrace authenticity and vulnerability and just show the world exactly who you are through the things that you create with your own two hands. So in this episode, I am working on quilling. Quilling is a paper-based craft where you use tiny strips of paper to make fantastical shapes. So you curl up a strip of paper into a coil, and you curl it really tightly so that when you put it in the shaper thing, which I'll explain in my first hour of the craft, you allow it to expand, and then from there you make any number of shapes that you want to. You can make a marquise shape, you can make a teardrop, you can make a square, you can make a triangle, which then you can make a fish, then you can make a flower, then you can make anything that you want, that you can put your mind to. So it's just the building blocks of making whatever you see in your world come to life. So let's take a look at how my experience over the next 5 hours of this craft have shaped me.
This is the Hearts project that came with the guide that I received in my kit, and it's rated as an easy level project. So I thought it started off really well, and I had a very false sense of security when I started this project. I'm like, wow, this is really easy. Look at how well this went as I unfurled this shape for the very first time. And it went smoothly on that first try, which was awesome. Definitely built some confidence, right? And maybe too much in my opinion. I thought the shape that I made was really nice, and the swirling on the interior looked really pleasant to me. So I was like, great, this is awesome. Then I tried my second one, and that's where things took a different turn. So I really struggled with this circle board. You're going to hear me call this probably a million different things. Circle board template or circle template board. I think that's what they're commonly referred to as, but I call it a million different things. Circle board, shaper thing, whatever. I think you get my gist. So anyway, I noticed that the outer edges of this teardrop were very thick, or that's the initial shape you make, right? Like, so you coil it up and then you make this teardrop shape. You put those two together, you got a heart. And so that would definitely have to do with the tension that I had while I was trying to keep this strip in this shaper thing. So I think it jumped out at me a couple times. I tried to correct it like manually by pulling the paper tighter around the shape before putting it into that heart shape or teardrop shape. And that's likely what caused those thick walls. So, just that manual manipulation of it. So after that, I really just kind of struggled, to be honest. I couldn't keep paper in the circle board. It kept jumping out on me, and I felt like I tried wrapping it in different places on the quilling tool. I was trying to make different adjustments, like keeping it on the quilling tool and allowing it to unfurl in the shaper, but it kept popping out. And so this was really frustrating to me, just to be plain honest, right? Like, it seems simple. It's paper, right? Like, you're just twirling it around a tool and allowing it to take a curled shape. So that can be really frustrating. But overall, I think it was a good experience as I kind of acclimated to the process, right? I'm brand new to this. It feels like you should get it pretty naturally, but I am brand new. And anytime you take on a new project, it's important to give yourself that grace, right? It's okay to feel challenged and wonder how to achieve something. Those small steps you're making are still steps, even if it's not a completed successful project, right? So I wanted to experiment more than I had time for. Again, I only did this for an hour to begin with, and each session is an hour. But made me wonder if I was using too much paper. It gave me a lot of good ideas, like maybe I can use a different size shape for the amount of paper that I'm using. It's starting to put those ideas into motion as I experiment and get used to using the tools that I have in my hands and also the paper at my disposal. So for the second hour, I am working on a flower project. So in the guidebook that I would receive with this kit, they rate this project a medium level project. So overall, I enjoyed making this shape a lot more. One, because I just love flowers. Like, if it's got a flower print on it, I probably have it in my closet. I just love flowers that much. With the first flower, I stuck with the suggested gauge for the loose coil, which is how you make those petal shapes. I found that I had some trouble choosing colors. When I saw all the colors of the rainbow before me and the beautiful flower in my head, I was like, how do I make that happen? And there's so many choices. And what if I pick the wrong one? And the what ifs. But when I let go of that pressure to make something beautiful and allowed myself to just make something, focus on the skill, building and creating something, I found the pressure to be relieved, and I really enjoyed the experience a lot more. Once I decided on the colors to use, I did kind of experiment with the gauge sizes. The first flower, I stuck with the gauge sizes suggested, but the second one, I kind of played around with the different petals. So I used like 2 different size gauges so that one petal was bigger than the other. And I definitely overestimated how many I could get done in an hour. I made 4 center shapes, but I really only had time for 2. So I'm really feeling out how much time a project might take from end to end, or from beginning to end. So I was much more comfortable using the circle board shaper this go round than I was the first time. And so for this particular shaper, it has a beveled edge, which I think was making those shapes pop out or making it easier for them to do so. And so I would lift it from the surface to kind of help keep it in there longer before like lowering it back down and allowing that shape to kind of sit in there. I think the purpose of the bevels means it makes it easier to remove, but I also think it makes it easier to jump out on you, which is really hard when you're a beginner. I'm just using this starter kit. I know that there's probably better tools out there, but just working with what I've got on this day. I did feel faster working with this pattern than I did with the hearts. I think overall I'm more pleased with the shape and look of this design when compared to the hearts. So the hearts were cute, but I feel like it looks like 2 teardrops just pushed together. But with the flower, you really start to see design and you see what quilling can really be. It also could be that I didn't have the experience I needed to make a heart that's pleasing to my eye, but I'm proud of what I've made so far. And I'm happy to see that just even in 2 hours of working with this medium, I am making progress. So I'm not trying to time myself when I do these, but it is nice to feel like I'm making improvement in speed and precision overall. So quilling or twirling the paper around the tool got faster and easier, and using the circle board shaper was a little bit easier this time because I had more ideas based on what steps and maybe mistakes I had made on the first round. So overall, I think the tension, getting more practice, letting the shape unfurl, these are improvements, and it's only the second hour. Just look what you can do when you've got just an hour of your day dedicated to something new and that you're pursuing. So it's really awesome. These are wins, and wins, no matter the size, deserve to be celebrated.
So hour 3, you might be wondering, why are you here? Well, I was so excited to do this next project. So it was a fish project where you use some new shapes, and I was like really excited about it. And it was right after the holidays, and I had had a little bit of a break in between my last session. And so I was getting everything ready. I got my timer going so I knew when an hour was up. I started getting my tools ready and everything, and I started making my shapes and getting things on the page, and I was very happy with it. And when I went to stop recording, I realized that I had never started. And you could imagine the range of emotions I felt in that minute. So I was really kind of disappointed in myself, if I'm being honest. And I was like, now I can't really show my first attempt at this project. And you won't see exactly, the true reaction of me trying to make these fishes for the first time. And here it is. This is my final product here. And so, I was only able to make 3 fishes in the hour. And what you'll see in the next hour is my same attempt at this project. And you can see that I make 5 fishes. And so it's not really a full representation of what I was able to do with my very first hour of the project, which you can see was not as much, and because there was more challenge to it in that moment. And what I wanted to say about that was, when I found out that I had not been recording the entire time, I could have said any number of mean things to myself. And if this were 6 months ago, I probably would have, like, of course you forgot, you're lazy, or whatever, any number of negative self-thoughts that you have, or limiting things that you might say about yourself. And I just want to say that because that's the power I think that creativity has, is throughout this journey that I've been on, being able to allow myself to make mistakes gave me permission to forgive myself when I did make one. And so something as simple as that, where this show is not perfect, and it's not going to be, and that's okay. I just want it to be, I just want to do it, and I just want to share that message with everyone. And I think that's the importance here, and that's what I wanted to showcase in this day. Maybe I didn't get to show you my experience of this project, but at least got to tell you exactly what this project, what this life of creativity can do for you. So anyway, on to the next hour.
Day 4, Happy Swimming Fish Under the Sea, Part 2. So this attempt went much faster because I already had a game plan. Like, I knew coming into it, those paper strips where I had joined 2 colors together needed a lot more time to cure, or at least that was my hypothesis going into it. So I did that first. Like, I just got those glued, let them sit for as long as they possibly could while I worked on the other shapes. And honestly, I was surprised at how many fish I was able to get done within the hour. Now, admittedly, this project or this session took me a little bit longer of a time to do because I got carried away with doing little bubbles and little rhinestones. And honestly, this was probably my favorite project to see completed. I was very happy with how it looked at the end and all the little extras that I added that just made my heart smile. So I was happy with it. And yeah, I did go over the hour, but I enjoyed it. And so, hey, can you be mad at me? I was very lucky to get a new circle board template over Christmas break. So I was talking about this project, and a little secret Santa elf heard me talking about it, and I ended up with something very kind in my stocking. So it was very nice to receive a new tool to work with, and I think it definitely made a difference in this project where I was able to, it's raised a little bit, it has a corkboard base, and so that shape isn't beveled like with the other template, and I think it made a lot of a difference in the success of those shapes that I was able to make. So yeah, I really enjoyed this piece of it. I really liked saying what if to myself and then following that what if. You don't know where they'll lead you, right? And maybe they won't all be good, but you'll never know if you don't try. So it was really nice to be able to take those questions and take that creativity and follow it and just see what happens and take shape on the page. And that's what this is all about. The last day, day 5, the pineapple. Dun dun dun. It's a medium level project, but it was a shape I had not done yet. And to be honest, I was a little scared of this one. I wasn't really sure if it would be more complicated. I mean, it has an extra side. The triangle is difficult, so why wouldn't 4 sides to a shape be more difficult? So I was intimidating myself before I even got started. But honestly, this was a really easy shape to make. Like, you make your marquise shape, and then you pinch 2 ends, and then you just pinch the other 2 ends, and boom, you've got a square. Before I even set out on this project, I was already getting myself worked up about something that I didn't even know what it would be. I was a little wary going into the project and was concerned it might be filled with frustration and maybe a few spicy words, but the square turned out to be much easier than I thought it would be. That was definitely a relief considering I had 13 of them to make. I played around with the sizing and made 2 different size squares to fill the space, so I thought, ooh, this will be fun, but honestly, I think I could have just stuck with 1 size and I would have been fine. Now that I'm beyond just making a shape, I'm having to use my judgment and experiment with sizing and shape in order to get an image. And that's really where, the skill has been building throughout this project, right? Like, day 1, we're just learning the basic shapes, but by now we're experimenting with size and how much paper to use, and if I want it to look like this, what do I need to do? And that's the next level of skill, and that's really nice to meet that challenge. Even though it definitely is a challenge and you need more time to play around with it, it's nice to be there at that point, versus like, I'm just learning how to do this. And now I'm making a pineapple and fish and hearts and flowers, and I am going where my creativity leads me. So making the pineapple is actually pretty quick. I was kind of surprised. I thought, going into this, that the square was going to be really difficult. So I thought, wow, this is going to take me a whole hour. But it really took maybe about half the time. And so with that extra time, I just decided to kind of play around with some other shapes that were on my card guide that I hadn't played with before. So I made like an S scroll and a loose scroll. It was fun making those shapes, and I think they could really add some pizzazz to a piece. But this one, it's not my favorite composition. Like, I just don't feel like I'm at the point where I have a vision yet to see like a project before me. Like, I need that visual help, that aid, like, to see a project in front of me and recreate it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how we all get started. It's just being able to learn how to do the things. Those skills come later. And so that wasn't something I was necessarily able to achieve within the 5 hours. But I did find myself making more judgment calls, like, oh, I think this size would be better here, or maybe I can play with size and see what happens. And definitely with the leaves of the pineapple, I was able to do that. So while, Pineapple Fiesta doesn't really speak to me, I am really proud of what I made here. And I hope that throughout this process, you've been able to see, if you've been following along, the skills that you've been building. And even if you don't love what you made, you love that you did it for yourself.
So that's it. Those were the 5 hours that I spent quilling. And overall, I really enjoyed this craft. I'm glad it lived up to the hype in my head, because I had been wanting to do this a really long time. And so it's nice to know that it was a positive experience and it's one I would continue doing, not something that I spent 5 hours kind of trying to get through. It was something that I really enjoyed, and I would love to do this again. And I was really impressed with the kit that I bought. I just got it off of Amazon. It was about $20. It had a large spread of strips of paper to use, and I only used one of the 2 that was provided in the kit. It came with the tools that I needed, the quilling tool, the needle tool, and it came with glue as well as cardstock. And so it really gave you everything that you needed to get started, including a guide to help you learn the shapes, and some project ideas too. So that's all those project ideas came from that book that was with the kit. So for $20, I think it's really a budget-friendly craft too. So if that's something that you need to be mindful of as you're jumping into a new craft, I think that it's very approachable from your wallet. wallet's perspective. How do I feel overall? Great. I would love to do this again. One thing that I would really like to explore, I don't know if it exists, but maybe kind of like a quilling by numbers, paint by numbers sort of thing. I mean, maybe somebody out there makes that. I don't feel like I have the skill yet to be able to create a vision from my head and put it on a page, but I would love to be able to do something a little more extensive, and maybe having like a paint by numbers sort of guide would be really helpful. So I don't know if that exists, but that's definitely something I'd like to consider doing, or maybe even just taking like one shape and making like focusing on color and doing something like that, and playing with the different shapes. And it's just one, like squares would be really easy to make kind of a geometric sort of thing. So those are kind of my next steps that I'd like to explore with this craft. But I hope that this inspires you to maybe take up quilling, maybe give it a try, see if it's for you, or even just jump into your own creativity. I think no matter where we are on our journeys, whether you are just getting started on the creative path, whether you've lost your way and you're trying to find your way back, or maybe it's just something you're wondering why you're here, and maybe this has inspired a spark in you that was long forgotten. And so I think it's really just about getting back to joy, getting back to wonder. When was the last time that you just thought about, wow, what caused me wonder? To feel wonder. I mean, that's what creativity can do, and that's what it's done for me. And so I'm thankful that you all joined me on this journey. You're welcome back anytime. And so, brave explorers, I hope you get out there, find your own craft or quilling, and join me next time when I explore a new craft. Together we can do this. One thing that has really called to me on my journey is poetry. And so I don't know if I would call this poetry or a thought or prose or what, but one of my goals for each of these shows is to do a thought that's related to the craft. Be it a poem, be it prose, be it whatever it is, it's just something to think about and take out into the world and let it resonate with you if it does. So I want to leave you with this poetic ponderance, let's say. So thanks for joining me. Quilling. Vivid strips of paper dancing in circular orbit, tightly wound and gathered together, waiting for a chance to take a leap into the universe. These seemingly small tethers are the dreams, aspirations, and quiet whispers of hope we draw to ourselves and guard carefully. Fear laces the tension with which we keep the truth of our hearts from being present in the greater world. When we surrender control and allow the beauty of our shape to take up space, magic fills the air in between. An unfettered expression of self that can never go back to its compressed form once it has experienced the freedom contained in authenticity.